Good evening, folks. My name is Alex Huntley, and welcome to the ArcWorlde Hobby Hangout number 4. How's everybody doing? Can you all hear me okay? Is everything clear? Can you hear music? I know I do this every week, but it's better to, make sure that everything is working smoothly, and then I'm not 10 minutes down the line and you guys are saying, oh, that's not working, so. Good evening, all seems good. Thank you very much, Jacka. So, how has your week been, ladies and gents? Have you been making the most of your government-sanctioned quarantine? Hey Donald, hey Primarton. Thank you for joining us tonight. So then folks, what is everyone working on tonight? So, as for me, tonight is a sculpting special stream. So, for the past 3 streams, I've been mainly doing, almost exclusively doing painting. I've been working on painting up the 2nd edition miniatures ready for the web store, so they are all done. I'm happy to say. A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into them, but, thankfully they're all done. So, I'm able to go back to what I enjoy most, which is sculpting, and tonight I'm working on a few of the future releases for ArcWorlde. So the jumble of green that you see before you is the new, or what's going to be the new Imperial Captain. So for you guys who've been aware of ArcWorlde for the past few years, there has been a faction called the Albionicans. These are essentially being not rebranded, but renamed for 2nd edition as the Imperials, because they are the Albionican Empire. They are still the Albionican Empire in the lore, of course, and the country is still called Albionica, but over the years, there's been a few difficulties with trying to pronounce it, trying to spell it. I've heard so many different people say, Albiconians, Albions, and I thought I would make it a lot easier for people, especially, people new to the range, by just calling them the Imperials. So they're exactly the same. In terms of style, a little bit different in 2nd edition compared to 1st edition. There's still that Napoleonic-ish look, but just upgraded the visuals a little bit, and I'm really, really enjoying finally sculpting these guys, because they are one of my favourite factions, but don't tell the rest of them. So, what are you guys working on tonight? Good evening, Les. Hope you're doing well, buddy. So throughout tonight, I will be obviously working on my sculpt, but I'm keeping a keen eye open on the chat for any questions or comments. So if you are watching, please don't feel shy. Pop up on the chat and say hello. Les says he's looking forward to a parcel in the next few days. Absolutely. So for those of you who haven't seen the Facebook updates or the Kickstarter updates, my wonderful parents, Rob and Dawn, have been working extra hard to make sure that all you guys are getting your models on time, the absolute heroes. Night and day they have been packing and preparing your parcels, and I'm happy to say that the first batch of the Kickstarter parcels have been sent. So we're kind of working down the list of people who got their pledge managers back to us first. We're getting the UK backers shipped first. So we've worked through I believe about 2/3 of them. So if you were a good and responsible Kickstarter citizen and got your pledge managers back to me in good order, chances are you should be, if you're in the UK at least, getting your parcels very, very soon. Ooh. Yeah, sorry if there's a few kind of camera knocks tonight, folks. This is the first time I've properly tried to sculpt with the current camera setup I've got, and with the angles and things, can be a little bit of a pain, because usually I kind of, lean back on my chair, like move it in and out of vision, proper kind of move it about. But at the moment I'm having to try and not only keep the model quite still, not in terms of in the right kind of position to be on camera, but it's the actual stylus as well. Primarton saying the Albionic Empire, the flamethrower guy. Yeah, so in the first edition we did indeed have a flame lancer, or a guy with a flamethrower. So you might see him return, or at least a new version of him return in second edition. He also said that he still has the big whalefish on the shelf, which I will not finish until third edition. Jacko is saying, how long has it taken you to get to this stage in the sculpt? So with this one, because I did use a dolly, so if you can see the grey parts, that's actually resin. I've actually been able to kind of power through this sculpt quite quickly. I think I started him about a week ago, but I haven't been working on him full time for that week because I've been painting mostly. The full working week last week was spent painting, but today has been the first day that I've actually been able to properly sit down and crack on with him, and it's been really nice. With the Kickstarter and stuff like that, I have felt like I've kind of had to not rush, but be very mindful of time. Like I did have the luxury of being able to kind of sit and take my time over the way like a model would look, maybe do it again if I didn't find it quite right. So with this one, because he is such kind of an important character sculpt for the Imperials, I thought I would treat myself and take my time with him. So I'm not rushing, and it feels nice. It feels nice to not rush. So if you can see there on the feather, I've kind of bulked out the shape of the feather with just a kind of a bendy strip of putty, and I've started to kind of sculpt those little fronds that will kind of be, you know, where the bottom of a feather naturally kind of separates. So I'll be sculpting over the top of that. Dagfin says, lol, taking my time with him like a line from an X-rated film. Well, what can I say? I'm a generous man, Dagfin. Especially when it comes to my sculpts. I'm a giver. Les is asking me, do you use green stuff or milliput or something else? I actually use both. I use a mixture of the two, so I very, very rarely actually use purely green stuff or purely milliput. Those of you who have been following my work for a while and when I have spoken to me about my sculpting process, I've always been very vocal about the mixture together of the two putties to make a kind of a composite blend, which keeps the consistencies of both, but reduces the downside effects. So the milliput allows the putty to be able to be blended a lot easier, and it dries much harder. Whereas the green stuff, it gives it a little bit more kind of tackiness and stretchability when you're working on details. It doesn't tend to crumble as much as pure milliput, and it gives it that lovely iconic green colour which we've associated with hand sculpts for decades, you know. And it kind of makes it a lot easier for me as a sculptor to kind of see things, because green is kind of a nice middle ground colour, so the shadows show up, the highlights show up, whereas if you're sculpting with a much lighter colour or a much darker colour, it can be a lot more difficult to see the details. And it's one of the reasons why grey is a really good colour for resin, for example. It has the same effect. Primaton says, I especially like that retreat from Russia look of the Albionicans, like the Froststream Guard. Hope they'll get some reinforcements. Well, the ones and what I've said in previous streams, one of the big things about 2nd edition is that because of the way that you build your warband, a lot of it is, you know, you get very basic stat lines, and then you add that customization by items, equipment and things. You can essentially construct the warband to fit the models that you've got. So it would be very, very easy to create almost a Froststream Guard kind of warband by using those old miniatures. In terms of new sculpts for them, I'm not sure. That there's nothing currently planned. You know, I'm trying to keep the sculpts as not as generic as possible, but will allow you to kind of add that flavour a lot with basing and paint jobs and stuff like that. So I can't promise there's going to be any more kind of let's say location customized Albionica models, but hey, if there is an outcry of that, I'd be more than happy to, because I love sculpting them. So, I think I will be working on the feather next. So I've got some green stuff here, So mix that up. Make sure the colour is nice and uniform. Don't want any streaks. So we get something like this. And then I work mainly with pretty much a 50-50 split, milliput and green stuff. So there we go. I use yellow grey milliput. It's my personal favourite. It retains the green colour when mixed with green stuff, which I really like. When I first started posting my work on the internet, on forums and things, when I was about 13, 14, I mainly used terracotta milliput, which kind of resulted in my sculpts having an almost kind of a browny, khaki look a lot of the time. But when I kind of deviated from using milliput for a few years, and then when I did come back to it, I chose the yellow grey, mainly because that was the one that was suggested to me, and also once again because I liked the fact that the putty remained green. So you end up with a kind of a light green colour here, and it's still stretchy, so you can still stretch it like that, but with a little water it makes a wonderful slip. It doesn't kind of remain that plasticky consistency that some of you who've worked with green stuff before might recognise and struggle with. So when it's freshly mixed, it is very soft and sticky. Just blending it over there. Oh, sorry about that, keep catching the camera. Can't really see too much because it's quite wet, but just kind of adding, not obviously I'm not sculpting every single strand of the quills in the feather, just kind of making the suggestion of them being there. into all the little nooks and crannies there. Might need a little bit more. So as you can see, the back is still quite unfinished. I've been mainly focusing on the front of the model because that's the fun bit. But you can see how I've kind of built up the shape of the cloak and part of the tunic, kind of coming off the back, with kind of like a tail coat kind of thing because he's a captain. And I've yet to kind of work on the details of the boots and things like that. So let that dry a little bit, just to get rid of some of the water, and then I'll start. Whilst I do that, I'll answer some questions. Hey Ian, good to see you. Question from Les: have you thought about other models in the Albionican range for 2nd edition? There was that rather awesome ogre type in 1st edition. Yes, of course. I've pretty much got the entire new model factions panned out. Especially the Start War band, at least, because I've already started all the models. The ogre will be making a return for 2nd edition. He will be the heavy. The mage. So one of the big developments in 2nd edition, especially for the Albiocan Empire, is that the College of Mage, or the country where all the mages go to train, which is the Mount Orion, it has essentially seceded from the Albionican Empire. The college is kind of carved into the side of this massive mountain, and the mages have decided that they're a bit tired of all the nonsense of all the factions fighting amongst each other, so they've decided to cut all ties with anyone in Upper ArcWorlde, and they've levitated their mountain literally out of the ground, so it's floating above the surface of the Earth, or of ArcWorlde. And because of this, the Albionicans have an immense distrust of any type of magic. So they've cast out all the wizards in the country, and they've made sure to kind of purge sorcery from their countries and things. So instead of having a mage as their kind of mage in the faction, they instead will have an engineer. So another one of the big things that's changed since first edition for the Albionicans is the invention of arclock weaponry. So it was hinted when I released the Heroes of Hobbleshire expansion, where I released those two factions for the halflings. So like the Albionicans have invented a sort of black powder system. It's not black powder, but instead it uses arcanite to fire projectiles. So arcanite crystals instead of the flint and flintlock, it's arclock rifles there. So the engineer, it's kind of their job to make sure that all the weapons are functioning, and they will essentially cast in quotation marks kind of spells that will buff shooting and technology and things. They'll make sure any kind of war machines or equipment are up to scratch or improved, perhaps. They'll kind of use arcanite to bolster, to kind of power their magic, rather than kind of an innate magic that the sorcerers and wizards would use. Yeah, Lash Lightning saying functioning as in not blowing off the user's arms. That's absolutely correct. It's still in the lore. It's still quite a rudimentary technology. There's still a lot of bugs and glitches. Like, it is quite common for arclock muskets and arclock pistols to explode, and that is actually represented in the rules as well. Jacko saying, I think a good feat could be to target the weapons so that they explode on the users. Absolutely. I think I'll neaten up the fronds on that. Originally I was going for something that was quite kind of tattered, but I think I'll clean it up a tad. while that's drying, I will start to work on the back. I feel like I have neglected it somewhat in the sculpting process so far. Oh. Kind of filling in the gaps of the kind of the bulking out of the cloak. I think I'll mix some putty with a slightly higher percentage of milliput. Just allows me to really get those smooth blends. Ian Creasy says, of all the first edition Albionicans, that Ogre was my least favourite. My favourite Albionican is General Sodad Sharp. I think this might be a nod to another famous Yorkshireman, Sean Bean. I think you may very well be right. Well, hopefully you'll like the second edition Ogre. Sometimes the putty underneath can be a little bit too wet, so I'll have to wait for that to dry a little while till I can start working on it again. Yeah, I think I'll leave the captain to dry for a little while, and then whilst he is drying, I think I shall work a little bit on his nemesis, at least for the next expansion of 2nd edition, which will be the Albionicans, or the Imperials should I say, versus the Bay Orcs. Now, leader for the Bay Orcs, in 1st edition he was the not the war chief, sorry, that's the elves, the chieftain. So, you know, big scary orc is, but in 2nd edition, the leader is going to be the Witch Doctor. So the model for the Witch Doctor, you might have seen him before. So he is one of the first ever 2nd edition models I sculpted back in 2018. However, for his main release, I'm updating the sculpt a tad, making him a little bit more dynamic, changing the pose slightly. But he is going to be the leader of the Bay Orcs, and one of the rare commanders that actually has the ability to cast magic. So usually the mage is the model that, well, the character that casts magic. However, at least for the Bay Orcs for 2nd edition, he kind of fits a dual role. So he is the commander and also the mage. Now you can still take a chieftain. So it's another one of the rare factions where you have essentially 2 options for a commander. But I'm going to put in the rules some kind of rivalry between the chieftain and the witch doctor. So I look forward to working on that later down the line. Good night, Primarton. Glad you could join us, and I hope to see you. Well, we all hope to see you again next week. So what's everyone up to tonight? Are you chilling after a hard day at work? Are you getting some much needed painting doing? Let us know in the comments, don't be shy now. apologise. Robert is saying, Alex, is this Bayok a Witch Doctor variant? So he's pretty much the same model. So I'm just updating the sculpt a bit because the sculpt is coming up to 2 years old now, and I wanted to make it a little bit more kind of on par with my current sculpting level. So he will be replacing the 2018 version. Jacko is saying he's a big fan of Bayoks. It's going to be tough to pick a leader now. Will they be able to have a Witch Doctor as a chieftain, or is it one or the other? Well, I haven't fully made my mind up yet. There will obviously be an option to use them both at the same time. However, I'm thinking of putting in some fun rivalry mechanics between the two. Or perhaps depending on which character you choose to lead your faction, you get access to different units or different buffs for those units. So perhaps if you choose the Witch Doctor to be the leader, you get more access to spells or Arcanite or potentially like spiritual buffs. And if you choose the chieftain to be a leader, he's more kind of warlike and physical. Robert says, interesting mechanics to develop. Absolutely, and it's one of the good things about keeping the stats as a living rulebook. So the core rules that you guys will be getting in with your Kickstarter pledges, that shows as I said, the core mechanics of the game, whereas the profiles will be online to download, so I can constantly tweak and change them, make sure they're up to date with the playtesting and with the kind of the feedback that I'm getting from you as players. So it gives me quite a lot of ability to add new mechanics and things to existing factions. So it's quite exciting that the game can essentially constantly change and develop. Ian says, I'm just chilling after coming off a night shift this morning and a workout this afternoon. I'm not a hobbyist myself, but there is something strangely therapeutic about watching Alex sculpt the next minis. Amu Menu, I'm sure I'm absolutely ruining the pronunciation of that. Hey Alex, first time I caught you, how are you? Very well, thank you very much, and yourself? You're looking forward to playing soon. Corona times make it hard. Absolutely. And it's actually one of the reasons why I want to get the first draft of the advanced rules out to you guys pretty soon, because that includes within its hallowed pages solo play rules. So it allows you to play out scenarios on your own or alongside friends, and the enemy is kind of controlled by a series of dice rolls and rules mechanics and things. So over the next few weeks I'm hoping to get a first draft of that out to you guys. We do have a kind of a working copy, but just to make sure that everything's working nice, I just want to give it a few extra weeks of writing and testing before I make the first release. Ooh. Hi Chris. Robert saying, virtual keyboard keeps correcting my words in the wrong way. 6 languages set in. Oof, yeah, I can imagine that's quite confusing for it. And possibly yourself as well, if you can speak 6 languages. That's amazing. Matthew saying, hey Alex, this is a pretty chill to watch while I do some sculpts of my own. What's your playlist? So the music that I'm playing in the background is a kind of a royalty-free YouTube playlist. Let me just post the link in the comments. There you go. I mean, I love listening to chill hop anyway, but I'm glad I finally found a playlist that I can play without the YouTube police coming for me. Wait for my elves to arrive. Missed the early day. Was working. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, well, the original plan was that I was going to do another ArcWorlde Open Day sometime in July, but seeing as we have the current situation going on, I'm not really too sure what to do about it. I think I'll definitely wait for things to die down and organise something soon. Hopefully soon. Lord Maiden, hey Alex, given the current situation, has your release schedule been changed? In terms of what? What in particular are you looking forward to? Because I will be I am making quite a few big announcements on Saturday when the pre-order for the 2nd edition models go live. Just kind of wanted to do a kind of a non-salute event, seeing as Salute was cancelled. Dagfin's asking, will the rulebook come along with the pledges or sent later with the map? No, so the rulebook will be arriving with the pledges for everyone. Those are just the guys in the UK that had their stuff sent today. The printing house assures me that the rulebooks will be, not the rulebooks, sorry, the maps will be arriving either today or tomorrow, so the rest of you guys will be getting the maps alongside them. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to risk putting my finger in that, so I'm going to put him to one side. So Lord Maiden's asking, he's looking... Well, they're looking forward to the dice and the new Norseman. They know it's a shame Salute was cancelled, but thank you much for the Saturday event, no problem. The new Norse, they're probably not coming for a good while, seeing as they were the first, one of the newer factions to be released for the 1st edition. But I'm looking forward to them, definitely. Oh, and you have sheep cavalry. Well, yeah, I am. One of the things I'm hoping to do with the next few releases is sculpt more models for the existing, or at least the first 4 factions that were released for 2nd edition. As I was saying before, one of the great things about having an online kind of stat-based system is that I can add stuff whenever I want. If I have an idea for a new model, I can just write the rules, put them online, and I'm not kind of locked into kind of a printed rule book. And especially kind of coupled with the equipment and the item system, so it allows you to really customize your characters. So, for example, a mounted halfling, for example, doesn't require a whole new stat line. So what would happen is you would have a halfling militia, for example, and the mount would be a piece of equipment that you would equip to that character, and then that mount has different buffs and stat changes that's kind of described on the piece of equipment. So it just allows you to kind of, so rather, if I do have an idea for something really, really cool, I don't have to write whole new kind of stat profiles. Excellent. The maps came at 5 PM tonight. Thank you very much for letting us know, Dad. Ooh. You look good. Ian says he is stoked about Saturday. He's taken the day off to enjoy the virtual event. Super excited. And that I am such a tease. My cat has just joined. She's kind of curious seeing what's going on. So, what kind of things would you like to see on Saturday, folks? So I do have a kind of a general, sort of a rough idea of what I've got planned. Probably going to do 2 streams, so one in the evening and one in the afternoon as well. I'll probably just be showing off some of the models. I'll be doing some sculpting. I'm thinking of potentially reaching out to the community and seeing whether people actually want to join me for a kind of a paint along. So I'll sort out so there's, you know, lots of people actually on the stream with their own kind of camera feeds and stuff, so that could be quite fun. But if you do have any ideas of things you would like to see on Saturday, just drop me a message in the comments or on Facebook and I'll see what I can do. Lord Maiden, thank you, and yeah, it makes sense for the Cavalry Edition to be equipment. My dad says we want to see Goblin. I'm not sure if I can fit her in the screen because it's the camera's quite close to the table, and she's very, very comfy sat here on my lap. Lord Maiden, I would like to see models not from the 4 factions and how they would work in the game. Well, I guess we're kind of limited with what what I've actually sculpted. So I can definitely talk about the other factions, what I have planned for them and such. Potentially, I could sketch some live concept art for them. This is what to expect. So that's an option. Dagfin, surprisingly, would like to see some more halflings, and I'm quite shocked because that's not like him at all. Are you sure you're right there, buddy? So, the next model I'm going to work on is this little dude here. So he's very, very, very early on, but he is an ammo monkey for the Imperials. So he's a beast, so kind of like a creature allied to the Imperials, and his job is that he kind of runs around and helps reload all of the ArcWorlde weaponry. Because the weaponry it's quite new and quite difficult to use, there are some kind of limitations on how often they can fire in the game. They're very, very powerful, but you can only crack off 1 shot per round. However, if you have an ammo monkey in kind of base contact, he will reload your weapon for you, so you can crack off 2 shots. And this, you can only reload 1 weapon a turn, so he's limited to, you might have to take quite a few of these guys. So I'll be definitely sculpting more than 1 miniature for them, so you don't have to use duplicates. But he's a kind of an example of how the real strength of the Imperial faction is definitely their equipment. Jacko is saying that he would like to see me read off some fluff, Jackanory style. More trolls are always good, says Hippopotamify. Ian says maybe a little talk through on force building and adding equipment for new members of ArcWorlde. That's a very good idea. I can definitely kind of show you guys step by step on how I would write a faction list or a warband list. Robert's asking about mercs. In what way are you asking about mercs? Hippopotamify is asking, how do you make your armatures? I usually make them out of wire, so I use a very specific kind of florist's wire, where it has a kind of a paper covering around it. Let's see if I've got one to hand. Yeah, unfortunately I don't seem to have one kind of right with me, but if you see kind of on the monkey armature, this kind of here, so it has like a paper covering on it, which allows the super glue to stick to it much better than just normal wire, and it's hard, you know, it's very strong wire, but it's still quite malleable. Robert's asking, the one you sculpting and more? Well, I'm actually not sculpting anything in particular at the moment. Goblin, get off. I said I'm mainly working on the Imperials and the Bay Orcs for ArcWorlde, and my other projects I've got going that I'll be announcing on Saturday, which I'm quite excited to talk about. But I'm definitely keen to do some more mercs, or sort of higher, as they're called in ArcWorlde. Oh. Oh. That's Goblin trying to steal my oh. Goblin, stop it. There we go. No. For those of you who wanted to see Goblin, here she is. No. No. Goblin is about 5 months old, Robert. So she's still only a little kitten. So I've never had a cat before. So it's been quite an adventure. She's definitely my little mascot. She often sits on my lap whilst I'm sculpting or painting and things, and she's definitely very curious about what I get up to. Although it does mean I have to keep a special eye on her trying to steal my models. I was playing D&D on Discord the other night, and she stole my D20. She just kind of battered it off the table and then ran off with it, and to this day I have no idea. Oh, no, stop it. I have no idea where it is. I have yet to find my D20. Ooh. So Lord Maiden, she is a cross between a Siamese and a Sphinx cat. So she's hairless, or kind of semi-hairless, but she's still quite fuzzy. I'll see if I can get a picture up for you guys. There she is. Matthew Sheridan is saying, have you done more ZBrush stuff? I was impressed you still kept your style so strong in digital. Did you get a printer for minis? Thank you very much. So yes, I have been working on some more ZBrush stuff. Not since last week, unfortunately. I have been mainly working on ArcWorlde, painting all the models up for the pre-order this weekend. But I'm going to get back to it at some point this week. But yes, I bought a 3D printer, so a lot of the models that I have been painting, I have printed on it. It's an Elegoo Mars, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Like really, really good. I can definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to have a bit of a play about with digital sculpting, but doesn't want to spend too much on a 3D printer. Lord Maid. Oh, she's very cute. Thank you. Absolutely no problem. She is my little goblin. Right, back to sculpting. Oh, no, she's back. Goblin, stop it. Nope. Thank you very much, Goblin. Yep, that's really helpful. Come on. Nah, she's not. Yeah, she's chill. So now the savage beast has been somewhat tamed. Back to sculpting. So for this guy, I'll kind of giving him like a bit of like a backpack or a satchel that he's reaching into to get some more kind of ammunition or kind of more kind of capsules to power the Arcanite weapons. Hippopotamify is asking, off the top of your head, do you have a favourite mini that you have sculpted? The unicorn have to be my favourite of yours. Oh, I do love that unicorn. It's like, in my mind, it's quite iconic for like to ArcWorlde, so I definitely like agree with you. He's like, that model is definitely up there. I think, I'm going to agree with Jacko. I think one of my favourite models is the kind of the forest troll, the second edition forest troll, because the actual concept art for that was one of the first. Actually, I think it might have been the first fully digital drawings I ever did. So I was at a friend of mine's house in 2013, I think. Mr. Alan Crooks from White Dragon Miniatures, and he had been kind of saying to me about how I needed to try graphics tablets and stuff like that, or bigger graphics tablets, and I gave it a go and I really liked it, and that drawing actually was on my business cards for very many years. And when I decided to start the second edition project in 2018, well, I was sculpting for it. The rules project I didn't really start until 2019. I thought it would be a fitting homage to bring that piece of art to life, and to this day I still think it's definitely one of my favorite pieces. Like, another one of my favorite models is the Halfling Sheriff. Like, I think he, as well as the Forest Troll, they're two very iconic, in my mind, models that kind of represent ArcWorlde. Hippopotamify is saying the trolls are definitely what hooked me on ArcWorlde back in the day. Back in the day, you say? How far back in the day are we talking? 2015 or 16, whenever the first Kickstarter was. The first Kickstarter was in 2013, my friend. A long time ago. Coming up to 7 years this year. And a lot has changed since then. It's been a wild ride. So I think I'll leave him to dry. I know that I haven't particularly done too much on this particular model because he's quite kind of small and frail. I'd kind of work on him piece by piece, make sure I don't ruin any of the stuff by kind of sticking my thumb in it, show the kind of the scale. So this is the captain, and there's the little monkey. Oh, goblin. My cat just decided to kamikaze launch herself on my lap, but realizing she's not small enough to kind of fit between the gap between my leg and and the table anymore, so she kind of clung on and then let go like Mufasa in Lion King and fell to the floor. What next? Yeah. So I think the next model I'll work on is this little guy here. So he is a boglin. So for you guys who aren't aware or who are quite new to ArcWorlde, boglins are kind of the little goblin-like servants of the Beorcs. Not servants as such, but kind of the underlings. They're kind of the underclass of Beorc society. They kind of do all the crap, dirty jobs, and kind of get herded into battle. So in 2nd edition, I decided to give the boglins that are in the starter set for the Beorcs. 2 of them, I'm going to give them slings. So it kind of gives the Beorcs some ranged firepower, which will be quite useful, especially against the Imperials. And also this guy here, who's going to kind of have a swag bag and a torch, because one of the big kind of special rules that boglins have in particular is that they are very, very good at nicking equipment off of enemy characters. So normally in ArcWorlde, if your character is prone, which means if they're on the ground, kind of defenseless, an enemy character in base contact can opt to steal or take one of the items that they're holding, which can be like a health potion, it could be an Arcanite crystal, but equipment such as weapons and armor and things like that can't be taken. But for the boglins, because they are particularly sneaky and particularly kind of sticky-fingered, they can take equipment such as weapons or armor and stuff. So it's they're really dangerous to have for equipment-heavy factions such as the Imperials. You know, if you've got a very expensive ArcWorlde rifle and your guy falls over and a Boglin comes over and nicks it, you know, you're not getting that back unless you catch him. Ian says he thinks the Graven is his favourite model. Very, very good choice. Another one of my personal favourites. Jez Allen has recently done an amazing paint job on one for me. Maybe he'll post on the ArcWorlde Facebook page. Well, I most certainly hope he does. Jacko is saying that his other favourites were the Undead Ogre Crewman and Old Man of the Deep. Really sold ArcWorlde to me. So for the guys who are quite new, in first edition the Undead Raiders faction was the Undead Pirates faction, and the theme of the sculpts were very much more focused around pirates, sea, like underwater things, like all the guys were kind of crusted in barnacles and stuff like that. For second edition I wanted to kind of open the scope for lots of other kind of environments, not just pirates, but any kind of outlaws, robbers, bandits and things that allow me to kind of diversify the range somewhat. So I made because mostly second edition, at least at the first, at the moment, is focused around the kind of the Mildark Forest, which is like this massive forest in the centre of the continent. I made them look more kind of, I guess, kind of like highwayman-like, you know, kind of outlawish type thing, but made the kind of the descriptions of the characters in the faction more open-ended, so that you could still play them as like a pirate-themed one using the old models, or if I do have many more ideas for any more settings that they could be in, keep my options open. Dagfin, with the increased option to customize the characters in 2nd Ed, will you make some changes in the model range to make it easier for us to convert and modify the models? At the moment, no. One of the big things that I really try to do for ArcWorlde and with the ArcWorlde models is keep them as one piece as possible. I think you really lose the character when you start making them kind of like customizable in terms of that. Like, I'd much rather kind of sculpt it as a piece with the equipment in mind, but one of the things that I'm hoping to do is just sculpt lots of different variants for you guys, so that you can field all the equipment types available, the weapon types and things, which means that, you know, even if I have sculpted all of the kind of the character types for a faction, there's still a hell of a lot of scope left over for new models and things to be sculpted in the future. So don't worry, if you are wanting some new figures for your faction, don't worry, like, there is an option that there will be more models released in the future. Hey Fred, it's good to see you, thank you for joining us. Wayne says, highwaymen and outlaws feel like a natural progression. I'm loving painting the 2nd edition bandits. Excellent, I'm glad you're enjoying them. Fred's looking forward to receiving the pledge this week. Well, did you get your pledge manager in on time? And are you based in the UK? If so, you may just be in luck. piece of putty there just to kind of give some anchorage when I sculpt more details on the nose for the boglin. Fred says that they are indeed in the UK and that they are indeed super quick in getting their pledge managers back to me. Well, in that case, you might just be receiving your parcel in the next few days. Lord Maiden says that they were the 7th to get their pledge manager submitted. Very, very good. So, Fred, these guys here are boglins for the Beorc faction. That's going to be one of the ones released next. So they're kind of little swamp goblin guys. I've also been working on the Imperial Captain, who's also going to be released next for ArcWorlde alongside the Beorcs. And then I've also been updating the Witch Doctor miniature. Robert is asking about the Undead Raiders, the whale, how will that work? Well, I have actually already written the rules for them, for the Leviathan, I think. So the way that it works is that it's a Titan from the bestiary, so that means that it is on the highest end of size for a creature, so you're talking about like the Arcanid Queen, dragons, giants, that kind of size. It can be taken just as a character on its own, so you can fight it just on its own or have it just on its own. But if it is taken as part of an Undead Raiders warband, it has the option to be used as kind of like a living warship, like a movable platform where you can kind of mount characters on it. So it's it works essentially in the same way as a mount, but it still can kind of move and attack, but any characters that are kind of on board it move alongside it. Fred says that they are the one that missed out on the weekend due to back issues, so you've been eagerly awaiting to get their hands on the stuff. Ooh, they looked lovely. Well, I'm very glad you think so, and I hope that you think that when you see them, when you get them in your grubby mitts. So in terms of the rest of the stream, folks, I'm going to be logging off at 10 on the dot because I've got my tea waiting for me. So if you have any questions or any requests, get them in. So this bit of putty is starting to harden up. So I'm just using it to pad out the back. Should I give this guy a hat or not? I can't decide. Because he's already got quite a lot of equipment and kind of visual excitement going on with the torch and the back, kind of the Bago swag. So I think I might keep him as he is. But more like with this guy. Yeah, I think I might give this guy a little hat. I'll need some more. So a message from Wayne. These boglins have any? Have you given these boglins any pet main yet names? No, not yet. I think once they get sculpted, and I can see their little faces, I think that's when the true characters will come out. Fred says, love how these already look to have so much character and they're just bare bones at the moment. Great, thank you very much. Now in terms of the Bay Orcs, so I did have a painted version of this, but unfortunately it's locked up in my studio that I can't get access to for a few weeks because of the Rona. But here is one of the Bay Orcs, the Brutes. So actually, I do have a picture of him, but before I do that, I will show you one of his mates. So this will be sort of very, very work in progress. This is a Bay Orc with dual weapons. I'll be giving him more detail over the next few weeks. Now, in terms of the first Bay Orc, it's a bit big. There he is. So there he is next to one of the halflings. So for second edition, I've, especially for the Bay Orcs themselves, I've gone for a more kind of tribal look, a bit more voodoo, rather than the kind of the hillbilly style I went with the first edition. I'm hoping to carry on that kind of visual style with the Boglins more than the actual Beorcs themselves. Thank you very much, guys. Glad you like him. Fred's saying about how he likes that I've not gone for the standard green. Well, yeah, because the Beorcs are swamp creatures, so I wanted to give them more kind of muted, natural tones rather than just your neon greens. Yeah, those will be saved for the gremlins that are coming later. Goblin, no. 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 She keeps going for my sculpting tool. I think it's because I'm giving that more attention than her at the moment. Eh? Les is saying, what are the plans for the Wizard faction? Ooh, I have lots of plans for the Wizard faction. I'm very, very much looking forward to working on those. So the plan is that the kind of the makeup of the faction will be that you have your wizard, who will be the commander, kind of commander and mage, very similar to the witch doctor for the Beorcs, and they will have their kind of acolytes or kind of trainee wizards that will kind of be able to cast a few spells, but not as many, and kind of buff the wizard. And then the main force of the warband will be made up of summoned magical sprites, which will have different effects depending on the type of wizard that they are. Because in ArcWorlde there are kind of five, I think it's six schools of magic, and you'll kind of you can choose which kind of school your wizard is from, and then they will have different sprites, different effects, and that will be kind of represented by the kind of the paint jobs that you give the wizards. I've been thinking about potentially sculpting different wizard models depending on what school they're from, and having those as kind of add-ons and stuff. So the kind of the core faction, the core warband will have a more kind of generic looking wizard and with generic looking sprites, but then kind of more as a kind of a personal choice, because I love sculpting wizards, I would make more kind of themed ones that you can buy separately. Fred is saying, any golems in sight for them? There is now. I think you've just figured out what I'm going to do for their heavies. Oh, goblin, no, come back. Give him kind of like a floppy hat. Oh. Jacko says, I can see two warring Beorcs being a cool matchup, two different styles, one with the voodoo witch doctor versus the hillbilly chieftain. Yeah, very, very cool idea. Also says, unfortunately I have to leave you wonderful people. Enjoy the rest of your night, stay healthy. Thank you very much, Jacko, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourself and see you next week. Hippo's saying that he's going to have to go off too, as it's 7 AM here and the day needs starting. Wow, whereabouts are you based? It's a cheeky bit of surprise cat cam. Australia, wow. Well, thank you very much for getting up so early to join us. Hopefully see you again next week. Have a good day. I think I'm going to give this boglin a hat as well. Robert is saying that he's looking for Beast Folks to reveal on Saturday. Fred saying, defo looking forward to finding some more about the lore of ArcWorlde. Can't be a fantasy setting. Well, I'm hoping now that the Sculpting 4 2nd edition is done, I'm hoping to expand on the lore a little bit in the faction rule sets. You know, eventually I would obviously love to write some novels and stuff, but I'm not too sure about the validity of that idea, especially because I've got, you know, I'm a one-man band. I've only got so much time in the day, and if I'm writing, I'm not sculpting or painting or whatever. So, you know. Oh, can't beat a fancy setting. So in the final few minutes of the stream, I'll be able to introduce you to the foot soldiers for the Imperials. Now, these are very, very early on in the sculpting process, and I've been using the dolly that I've sculpted already. So here's these one armed with a sword and shield. If you see, I've kind of increased the height a little bit, just giving him a shield. I've yet to sculpt any of the details on, but you can kind of see the kind of Napoleonic inspirations there. Then we'll have one with a spear, kind of holding back any dangerous beasts. And then we'll have the famous, or I should say the brand new, ArcWorlde muskets. So that's musket number 1. And musket number 2. And then they will go with the captain and the ammo monkey And then for the Bayork starter warband, we'll have the Witch Doctor, the Brute, and then Boglin number 1 with a sling. Boglin number 2 with a sling as well. And Boglin number 3 with a torch. So, yeah, the next release is going to be super exciting. I'm really looking forward to releasing this. The expansion will be called ArcWorlde 2nd Edition, The Green and the Gilded. And that will hopefully be coming out probably in about 3 months' time, I'm hoping. Looking at possibly a July release on Kickstarter. So make sure you put that in your diaries. Obviously, I'll be making more announcements in the future, but the official announcement for the future Kickstarter will be made on Saturday. Right, so this takes us to the end of the stream. If you do have any final questions, let me know super quick in the next few seconds, and I'll be able to answer them super quickly. But if not, I shall see. I'll give you a bit of time to get them in. But if you miss out, don't worry. I'll be doing this stream every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. So next week I'll probably be doing some, maybe doing a bit of sculpting, or might be painting one of the next, or should I say, the future ranges for Warplock miniatures. But regardless, I'll be doing some streaming on Saturday for the Not Salute online event. I'll keep you guys posted on what I'm going to have planned for that. But if you don't see you next week, I'll definitely see you then. Have a wonderful evening, folks. Thank you for joining me. Ta-ta for now.